Today we're going to be doing an unboxing of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry, the Catacombs, Death and Glory in the Lands and Dungeons of Chaos. This one is going to be basically the second box that I've ever, been in. Um, the first one, I'm trying to remember the actual name of it, where it came with the battle cards, with the twists scenarios and all things of the sort. That was the first one that I had experience with, where it had all of the monsters and a bunch of different other things. Whereas this is basically an expansion of the Warcry game or world. It has pretty much everything you need, aside from any monsters or external sort of creatures that you could be fighting. But this comes with, just like the other, two war bands that you can play with. It comes with a core rulebook with all of the cards basically inside of the book, so you can make the cards yourself, or you can do a roll off to sort of determine things that way. Um, that way it'll just kind of be in your rulebook a little bit more, or you can actually get or it comes with the Catacombs expansion book, which has all of the rules for the Catacombs expansion, as well as its own individual cards, twists, scenarios, things of the sort that basically are an expansion for Warcry. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit different because I have already opened this up, just sort of checking and seeing what it'll go through. So the game mat is actually about halfway down. When I open it up, it's going to be right on top, but it's okay because we can look at the game mat first. Let's go over just some more things that are in it before I actually dive in. Um, so, as you can see here, you get everything that you need to play, coming with basically the two war bands. Comes with all of the cards for each troop choice. Right here is basically the warband cards that give you an overview of all the special abilities that your warband has access to. Um, Again, you get the core rulebook as well as the Catacombs expansion. You get three different sets of dice: the red, tan, beige, and the black. Bunch of damage counters. You get a flexible ruler, and pretty much that is it as far as accessories, other than the game board and terrain. So all of the terrain that you see here, you actually do get with the box set. But also the mat, the board that you play on, is reversible. So you can have this basically board scenario, or if you would like, you could have this one, which is essentially the Scions of the Flame area, and up here is sort of the Knight Shadow Stalkers part of the terrain. Anyway, over here you do see an example of Scions of the Flame and Knight Shadow Stalkers. You can look these up a little bit more on the internet, but essentially that's kind of how they look. The Knight Shadow Stalkers are, I would say, pretty much just dark elves, but in the Age of Sigmar world, whereas the Scions of the Flame are kind of like, I'd say, like a chaos version of Sisters of Battle. Just another fanatic side of the, or flavor of the chaotic realm that is Warhammer Age of Sigmar. But if we go a little bit farther in, because now we sort of know what we're getting, I am going to go ahead and open this up really quick. Let me just get it. Okay, the camera's in a different position than I'm used to. Kind of thinking upside down and backwards. Okay, so let's pull this off. Alright, so here is the game board. Like I said, usually it's a little bit further down. it has a few dividers, so it won't wind up getting damaged by all of the terrain that's actually in there. I would recommend watching what you put up against this, because it could very well destroy basically what it is. So here is a little bit of the Scions of the Flame realm. I'm trying not to hit my tripod. Right here, you can see, just the high definition sort of artwork that is on there. Okay. But now on to the important stuff. So, little divider. I would recommend not throwing this away, because again, you can use it to act as a little bit of a buffer between this and some of the sharper or harder things that you have in here. As you can probably see on this paper, if it'll focus, you can see all those little dents. That's what's going to happen to your game board if you don't put something in between it. Some people probably couldn't care less, but other people, just want to keep it nice. If you're going to spend all this time working on stuff, you might as well keep it nice. These do not come in these bags, but it does come with these bags. I think it came with 3 or something like that. The dice did come like this, but these I just sort of separated with a bag that they give you, so that it just makes it easier access for me. But let's open this up. Okay, so what you can, or what you get, is essentially, you'll always get a couple of these, and what it is it has all of the different quadrants. If you have specific troops that you have in specific spots, this is a good way to keep track of just, who everyone is, and yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to use this for objectives. If for whatever reason it helps you for basically troops, like if you have 6 of a individual troop, then you can just have counters on them, so that you don't have to have it on the game board. But they give you, looks like 2 per warband, if I remember correctly. With some of the other warband cards that I've gotten, it also came with 2 per. So, just sort of standard. Here we do have the cards. You have different backings for the different factions. Here, let's just make sure. Cool. So, for this one, we have the Shadow Stalkers. Let's see if it'll... Cool. So, are we gonna be able to? Towards me. Okay, cool. So here we got that. And I do apologize that I'm not saying their names. I would have to look the names up of these individuals, and I'm just kind of trying to go through these a little quickly. I mean, I'm already showing you what they do, so, but... So, usually warbands come with 2 types of heroes for the warband, and then a bunch of just regular troops. This stack is a little bit thinner than the Scions of the Flame, it seems like. Yeah, it looks like Scions of the Flame is about double, but then again, really anything elves, it's pretty elite. Um, yeah, here we have Scions of the Flame. Again, I do apologize. I'm not entirely sure what the names of these guys are. I would have to look it up. But as you can see, 20 wounds, so probably a hero. Right here, 18 wounds, so they're probably a hero. 10 wounds, inconclusive. It looks like this is a normal guy. Sometimes you'll run into troops that just have a lot of wounds, but they're not a hero, and sometimes you will run into a hero that does not have a lot of wounds. The dead giveaway is usually right here, the amount of gold that things cost. Usually, if it's close to 200, it's a safe bet that it's a hero. Whereas, if it's sort of on the in between, I think this guy might be a hero. I mean, it looks like he's wearing, pretty legitimate helmet. It kind of reminds me of the one Malekith wears, but uh, inconclusive. So, again, I'm not an expert on these two warbands, but I do hope to know a little bit more about them after I dive into them a little bit more. Because again, this is kind of new for me. But as you can see, you got about double the troop choices for this. Which usually means that these guys are a little bit harder hitting, or you just require a lot more duplicates of individual troops. Okay, so we do have these. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 of each color. One thing that the Warcry dice does is the 6 is the Warcry symbol. So just something to look out for. Now we have the Sprues. So you'll have Warband Sprues, which basically has an individual warband on it. It would be pretty much these two. Warband, you get a lot for a little. I mean, you get pretty much everything that you need for these two. This looks like it is the Scions of Flame. Yes, yeah. So they're all muscly. These are the Scions of Flame. I think they're pretty well done actually. I remember playing Warhammer in the 90s, and I mean, just the quality is so much better. I mean, it's on par with the quality that they put out now for all their other games, but just in comparison, this is so nice. They really go into French Baroque sculpture style, where they're really putting emphasis on weightless and cloth, and just the really, really, really good looking stuff that throughout art history. I mean, it's just this is modern masterpieces, pretty much. If you think about it like that, study some sculpture and you'll know exactly what I mean. Basically, by about mid-Renaissance, they kind of figured out quite a bit about just making things appealing in three-dimensional space, which is a great thing about Warhammer is or Citadel, Games Workshop, is they just deal with really amazing miniature masterpieces, and I think that's fantastic. But I am a little bit of a art history nerd. So here are some of the terrain pieces. It looks like some barricades, some wooden walkway type things, some skeletons, just decorative. Over here, I do believe this is a bridge. If I remember correctly, this one is a bridge. But we do have some archways, some little feet to put the archways in. We do have some skull gates with the uh, you know, the Star of Chaos on it. Oh, and some of these are double-sided as well. Whereas with this, the bridge, the underside isn't as well put together because you're not supposed to be looking at the underside. So here's essentially a duplicate of that same sprue. So you get double of whatever archways, you get two of these bridges over here. We do get a couple more barricade type things. It looks like these slide on to, I would assume, near the top of something. Just because how there's this ridge up at the top. I would imagine that it gets put up at the top of some structure. But here's a well that's covered, maybe to like some sewer, or maybe it is just a lava river, just depending on the way that you want to do it. We do have a bell with a RZ null 421, but then again, it is Sigmarite or Canite or Chaotic runes, so I don't fully know what it is. I know it's based somewhat off of Latin and what we see as regular characters nowadays, but got this nice old ladder. Man, I really like these. The work that they do on all this detail. I mean, this is just a dry brusher's dream. You don't even have to be the best painter. You can just exploit some really, really simple technique and just make this look fantastic. I mean, that's definitely one of the benefits to having a model that is extremely high detail. Is the model kind of does the work for you. You don't really have to do a lot of the legwork and painting comparative to if something didn't really have much detail. That wow factor would fall a lot more on the painter rather than, I mean, there's just so much detail. I mean, if you just dry brush that, it's going to be really hard to mess that up. But yeah, so yeah, kind of like how it has these ridges up here. Slot, a slot. Yeah, so some of these will section together. Yeah, right here, you see that flat. It's probably going to go into one of these spots, a little flat right there. So I'll check a little bit of the how to put it together manual, instruction manual, and that way I'll be able to give you a better description of what everything is. So here is one of the rulers that it comes with. I would say you're probably going to be using it more like this rather than this because one, this just takes up more room, and two, I mean, I like using it this way to get around corners, and you wind up in the same spot. Alright, so here we have the Catacombs expansion book, where, as you can see, the two warbands are fighting on the front cover. The table of contents, I'm trying to do this sideways here, yeah, I mean, you won't really be able to read it, but just kind of flipping through it. The horrors below. Kind of gives you just a little overview of what you got. Vernthex's Maw. Kind of little backstory as to why. So the Shadow Stalkers are very fast glass cannon type with some magical support and buffs, whereas Scions of Flame, they'll survive quite a bit longer, presumably, but you get a lot more of them uh, troop troop wise. So that would lead me to believe that you're probably going to be fielding twice as many Scions of the Flame than you would the Shadow Stalkers, but it really depends on how you play the game, because of course it has points. But okay, yeah. So the Blazing Lord is the guy who has the sun helmet over here. Brazen Champion. So if you remember going through the cards, here, let's go with this. All right, so yeah, 190 for the Blazing Lord. The Brazen Champion at 170. The Immolator at 145. The Fireborn at 120. The Fireborn with Sunblade and Brazier Axe for 115. Yeah. The Inferno Priest for 130. Initiate with Brazier Weapon, and then Initiate with a Hooked Axe for 65. So, and the Initiate with Brazier is also 65. Okay, so over here for 190, oh, that works too. Alright, so for 190, we have the Shroud Queen. She is part serpent, so that's cool. The Let's get this right side up. Alright, so this guy, the Shroud Blade with Umbral Spear for 90 points. If that's a hero, that's a really cheap hero. That's like Skaven cheap. So probably not, but we'll see. Then we have for 100 Dark Flame Warlock with repeater crossbows, 100. Then we have a Slaughter Shade with Umbral Spears for 120. Dark Flame Warlock with Doomfire Ring. So presumably the Doomfire Ring would be kind of like a Ruby Ring of Ruin from Warhammer Fantasy, if you remember that, where it's just a fireball spell. But that's for 100. It seems like a lot of these guys are around the 100 range. Then we have, yes, 120 would be, I guess, a variant of her that they're not showing. but that's okay. So it would be the Slaughter Shade with, I would say, some form of whip or flail. It also gives you a little indicator right here of the weapon type. You have uh, all of your stuff up here: wounds, attack, defense, uh, and then down here you also have variants of it. How much damage you do, um, various things. Then the 90 for 90 points is Shroud Blades with Cursed Swords for 90 points. They seem like, if you want to do something with a lot, I mean, you're going to be fielding a couple of these, probably 5 or 7 of these, and then 1 or 2 other heroes, and that's pretty much going to be your warband. Otherwise, if you go hero heavy, you're just not going to have enough bodies. So there's a lot of scenarios where bodies are absolutely what you want. So we do have some images, if I can turn it correctly. I'm upside down and turned around. Okay, so that is the Keratin Overlords versus Skaven. That looks like... I'm not sure if that is just Night Haunts. I'm not sure what undead faction that actually is. And then we have this really long one where the Scions are fighting against... Oh man, I forget their names. Warriors of the Spire, Tyrants, and the Splintered Fang. Yeah, Splintered Fang. So Splintered Fang is on the right, and the Warriors of the Spire, Tyrants would be more so on the left. But yeah, I mean, they just have a bunch of beautiful artwork in this book, as they always do. Tunnels of Death. It just sort of tells you different types of dungeon battles. Right here you can see that bridge was that skull thing. So you can do a bunch of different battle types. It kind of runs you through it. You pick a dungeon battlefield, you set it up, setting up dungeon terrain, set up bridges, set up doors, set up unique dungeon features, and then essentially you pick the battle plan, twists, anything like that, and you just kind of have all of that go into play afterwards. I don't necessarily like the skull as bone. For me, I would like to paint it as like a bolt gun metal, dark or bright gold, but that's why I'm able to paint it. So just talking a little bit about dungeon abilities. You get universal dungeon abilities like during a dungeon battle, fighters can use the following abilities in addition to any others that they can use. There are 3 universal abilities and 3 faction-specific abilities, 1 for Night Haunt and 2 for the Corvus Cabal. So double Lurk in the Shadows. Until the end of the battle round, this fighter is not visible to enemy fighters more than 6 inches away if this fighter is within 1 inch of a dungeon wall. Double Breach Door. Only fighters that do not have the Night Haunt rune mark can use this ability. A fighter can use this ability only if they are within 1 inches of a sealed dungeon door. Pick one weapon of this fighter's and roll a fighter card that has a range characteristic of 3 or less, and roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. Add the number of dice that scored a 2 up to the strength characteristic of the weapon you picked. If the score is 6 or more, that dungeon door is opened. So you could either get a buff, or you can move around a little bit in the dungeon. Triple, push into the pit. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of this fighter and within ½ inch of a pit. Both players roll a dice and add the roll to their fighter's toughness characteristic. If your score is higher than your opponent's, the enemy fighter is taken down. Then there are some faction dungeon abilities. I'm going to not go over that though. I'm going to push through a little bit more. Gives you a little bit of an overview on how to set up the game. Pits, entrance tunnels, orientations, setup bridges. And then here we have a battle plan generator. So, towards me. Okay. So deployment card table A. And that's the end of A, up at the top. And then deployment card table B. Victory card table. Overpower, Vital Territory, Diminishing Gains, Treasure Hoard, Running Battle, and Cursed Relics. Then we have Victory card table 2, Take by Force, Critical Point, Annihilation, Breakout, The True Prize, and Search and Pillage. Then over here we have Twists. Twists definitely make the game interesting. I don't always like the twists. Sometimes we do just opt out, or I have played with people who just decided to opt out in the past, but, you know, we'll see. So, twist card table A, Alert and Ready, Suffocating Heat, Delayed Allies, Dark Shadows, Dangerous Doorways, Sealed, Never to be Opened. Twist card table B, Warning Calls, Hidden Traps, Lost in the Dark, Rumored Riches, The Unknown Beast, and Treacherous Bridges. Over here for terrain cards, for overground battles, this way you kind of are able to set up the game just in a random configuration, predetermined. So still predetermined, but you have a choice between 6. Then this is the campaign section. It tells you different ways that you can actually go through the campaign. It has territory rules, artifacts of power, command traits, different scenarios that essentially escalate and determine a winner. Here's another, Kane's Blood. Again, you have 3 scenarios, artifacts of power, command traits, territory rules, a couple of different things. So I do really like this expansion in a sense that it gives you something fast and digestible, so that you don't actually have to think about a lot of setting up, and it just really makes it more of like a game that you play instead of something that you immerse yourself in to even figure it out. So again, Pit of Darkness, you get artifacts of powers, command traits, these different convergences, scenarios, the Immolation Engine, Beasts of Flame, and then you have Fated Quests, which, yeah, Honor and Glory. Okay, so this is kind of like Path to Glory, where it does escalate. Basically, you win and you're able to move forward based off of how you do. The Obsidian Tower, the Spawn Master, the Orb of Secrets, and feel free to pause this video and read through this stuff if you can. Trial of Destruction. And then Spoils of Victory. Basically, for the particular game types, they give you honor, and this helps you essentially build throughout your campaign because you get different artifacts of power and just rewards for actually winning on specific game types, hence the Spoils of Victory. So here's another page, and that is essentially it. It also has a name generator on the back and an origin generator. The name, I don't think it really matters as much, but definitely the origin generator. Uh, it just gives you a nice flavor. Okay. Then we have all of the damage counters, reversible, all of the ones, turn into threes and stuff like that. So here we have Scions of the Flame Warband card with the fighter types. Just trying to... Yeah. Gives you all of their abilities. And then you get the core rulebook, which I don't believe I will go through in depth here because this is just the core book. There's plenty of stuff out there, but just going from the back, you do get things like tournament rosters, warband roster. You get all of the original cards, but you still have to, print them out and stuff. Bunch of terrain, scenarios, Bone Splitters, Daughters of Cain, Flesh Eater Quartz, Iron Jaws. So you have everybody's special origin, leader, background for everything that was current for the rulebook. The Unmade, Cipher Lords, Untamed Beasts, Corvus Cabal. Then you have all of the Spoils of Victory for these things: the Stolen Totem, Traitor's Fate, Proper Scrap, Seekers of the Chance, Bounty of Souls, Bottle Heist, Stolen Tome, Hidden Vault, Bells of Lost Valorium, Making Your Name, Tide of Fire, Venom of the Gods, Nagendra's Gullet, Song of Suffering, Path of the Flayed Prince, Cold Vengeance, A Spy in the House of Talons, The Hunger of Sisyphus, War of Talons, Tooth and Claw, The Hunt for Firescar, Cursed Metal, Conquer the Forge, and that's just the campaign section. So it has rules for tournaments and just kind of how you go about it, battle plan, table generators, matched play, pitched battles, basically everything you need. You have artifact tables. And just sort of how to go through all of your stuff. I know I'm going through this backwards. Triumph and Treachery. That is, this is really fun. It gives you just the ability to go through, get different conditions, and it makes it so that you're not just doing objectives like the Triumph and Treachery. There are parts that mess up both players or all players, and it makes things a little bit interesting, more so than just kind of, hey, here we are, let's do this thing. It just throws in a little bit more variables, but yeah, bunch of different scenario type things, bringing up how you attack, how you get into range, how you do certain abilities, setting up a battle, and then just some of the core rules. This goes through each one of the factions. The Gloomspite Gits and Skaven that I am, they're not in this, but Scions of the Flame, they're right there. Spire Tyrants, they're right there. The Unmades, Bernard Flame, Cypher Lords, Untamed Beasts, Iron Golem. So there are a few that are out now that are not in this, but it's just the core book, and pretty much everything else is just expansions. But core book gives you a lot, and the Catacombs, yeah. So yeah, the core book is like essentially 2 or 3 expansions worth. Then we have the Catacombs, how to build everything type thing. Yeah, with these feet. That's what they go on. Some stuff for walls, adding in pillars, a couple slots to add stuff in, bell tower with a platform and some hanging skeletons. This shows you how to do all of the troops that you get in your warband. So, yeah, very cool, very necessary. The terrain really isn't that complicated to build. Also, it shouldn't be that complicated to paint. I mean, I would say that it would probably take me about like 3 hours to maybe paint all of the terrain. But we'll argue about quality later. And up underneath of this divider, it's not a divider that is, it's not actually attached to the bottom at all. So just however you decide, but it did come with all of these little bags. So if for whatever reason, one of these will be for damage counters, one of these will be for, you name it. So it comes with 1, 2, 4. So I would say 6 big ones, because I did use 2 for the cards in the beginning, and then one of these. Not entirely sure what that would actually be for, other than just sort of, them giving you another bag, and you get all of the bases for everybody. So you have some that it looks like... Alright, so some are 32s, some are 25s. So 25, 32... No, 25... Yeah, 25... 25, 28, 32, and 40, I believe this one is the biggest. And I think the snake queen, the Shroud Queen. I believe she's the one that is on the 40 millimeter. Might even be a 35, but I've never seen a 35, so I'm pretty sure it's a 40 millimeter because the other ones are similar. Okay, but as far as this goes, I'm gonna go ahead and put all of these together on a separate video, and before I paint them, I'm just gonna show you how everything looks grayed out, put together, and then I'll do an update with everything finished, giving you sort of my vision on how I would like my catacombs to look. So, if you liked this unboxing, I can't guarantee that there's going to be a lot more unboxing videos, but definitely when something piques my interest like this, I really believe in the Warcry game type, I'm going to be presumably doing a few more if I wind up getting more expansions. Kind of new to the unboxing, to be honest, but if it winds up being valuable for you and you like being able to see the rules, if you don't mind the commentary and you like sort of just getting a sneak peek before you buy, please do give me a like, subscribe, maybe even give it a share. Show some of your friends, try to get them into Warcry, because every game that I've played took anywhere between 10 and 45 minutes, and the 45-minute games, that was when people were just sort of learning how to play. Lots of questions, because you just bring up scenarios where, what if I could do this, or why can't I do certain stuff? So I really do like how they have the boxes and everything like that, because these dividers, you can just have everything nice and off to the side and not have to worry about them getting crushed by all of these stuff over top of it. Let's just... yeah. Oh, okay. Alright, and we're going to put you like that. In the original box, it actually sits like this, where that's on top of it, that's there. On top. Alright. And okay, and again, if you enjoyed the little sneak peek, trying before you buy, sort of just seeing what you get, hopefully, if you do pick this up, it is the correct one and it's everything that you want and need. If not, I hope this video helped you decide whether or not it was actually the right purchase for you or not, or if you should even get into the Warcry game type, as far as spending money on the box itself. I will say this is probably the cheapest Games Workshop all-in-one game that they have available. They do every once in a while do starter sets where sometimes they will have two armies, like the Island of Blood, things like that, but they're still missing quite a few things to be able to play the game, whereas this It gives you everything. You get 2 warbands. They look great. You don't have a couple hundred models that you have to take care of. And the games that you play with this are nice and fun and digestible and fast. So, I hope you enjoyed, and keep on wargaming.